This game was absolutely cinema.
Who's he?
Kentman!
He's not important!
Okay. Hello, Gooners and Gamers. It's your boy Kentman, fresh off of me just completing and beating Atelier Resleriana, the Red Alchemist in the White Garden. Oh my God, the excitement that's just in my body that just is waiting to get out to talk about this game. My thoughts, my feelings, my emotions for this game is just through the roof. I mean, it's not really that surprising if you've been here for a long time. You know, I love Atelier. So this game was going to appeal to me quite well. I mean, there's not really a bad Atelier game in my opinion. I love every single one of the games, and Resleriana, the Red Alchemist in the White Garden is no different. And oh my God, but let me just start from the beginning. Now, there was a few things that I didn't like about the game, and I'm gonna go over those things first, which is the UI. The UI in the game was a little crusty at times, especially when you're going through it very fast and it would lag or stop after so long, and sometimes I would have some crashes, only like twice though. I only had 2 crashes where right when I was saving the game, which is super heck of annoying, the game froze and I was like, are you serious? And then it happened again like a couple days later and I was like, I was just about to save. So those times did happen, and I was playing on the PS5, so you would think it would be a very enhanced version of the game versus like the PC. I don't know how it is on the Switch, but I heard some people had some performance issues. But so there was some performance issues that I ran into, but not a lot that ruined my experience by any means, but they were annoying, mostly the UI, because in this game you are going through the menus between all your different abilities and your characters, and looking at the stats and looking at the town management, looking at your chest of all the different stuff and items you have. So you're going through your menus a lot. So the fact that the screen would lag so often was hell of annoying. But otherwise, I had a fantastic time with this game. This game was essentially a return to form for Atelier, for veteran people who's been part of the Atelier series for a long time, without the grind and rush of trying to do a time limit within the game, but it still is kind of like Ryza, but more like Sophie in the same way, and it feels amazing. It feels so good, especially the synthesizing. The synthesizing in this game is a little bit more simple and not as complex as it was, but it does has its quirks to it, mostly when it comes to the calluses. The calluses allows you to morph and change different perspectives of the colors to match certain colors to get better results in the end. Now there's other calluses where you have these like different materials for like fish or dragons or metal or something that you could use. I didn't really find myself using those a lot, especially because I didn't really understand them. Most of the time they just clogged up my inventory, so I would just end up deleting them. But then I started to understand how they work, that you could change a whole category into the category you want, so it would save you time on resources, but at the same time that color could be a little bit different, so it might not actually match the color that is aligned to the first thing. So sometimes the calluses was a little bit annoying, especially trying to track them down, especially because the only way you could get the calluses was in the dimensional paths. So sometimes dealing with the calluses system was a little annoying as well, but after a little bit, after you got a kind of a rhythm on how to get them, they were not that bad. But everything else about this game was absolutely amazing, especially the exploration. The exploration was so well done. There was different places that you can go, open world zone maps that had a lot of different explorations and filled with little different enemies and just different ways to explore the map. Then you would also get more ways to explore the map, from breaking down a wall with Slade or with Riaz, getting a more grappling zip line to different colors to open up new sections and areas for the map, which was always so much fun to get a new upgrade, to go see where I could go and zip line to another place and just see the world that they have built, because even though it just seems like it's only like 5 or 8 different regions you can go to, there's actually so much more you could do because of Dimensional Pass and because of the different locations you can go to. This game is packed full of different environments and settings that are so beautiful and so attuned. The music is nice when you're in the areas. There's a bunch of times where I just sat there listening to the music because it was just that good to listen to. And of course, you can't have this game without the characters itself. The characters were so amazing to watch on screen. It felt like you were watching an anime, at least for me. I really love the art style that they chose for this game. It's definitely borrowing from Resleriana, the gacha game, and I really like this more like soft and very like beautiful looking expressionist style that they went with. Like, even though with Yumie, it had a very unique style that I really liked. It had more of a gritty style though, but with this one, I feels like they were able to express a lot of their emotions a lot better, because when they were crying, you felt that. When they were happy, you felt that. When they were scared or surprised, you felt that. Even when it came to like the jiggle physics in the game, it was so nice. The fan service was amazing in this game. Every time someone would move or run, you would feel it, you would see it. It was like, oh my God, I love that they didn't hesitate when it came to this game. But again, the characters itself was great. Riez is such a bubbly, fun, inspirational character that just wants to help and bring back the town that she loved, which is Helfin. And there was a big calamity that happened 12 years ago, and now she is trying to bring back the town, but she doesn't really have any true skills until she meets Slade. And then once Slade is here trying to also rebuild the town because of his father, of a G-score that he has on his wrist, and now he's trying to discover why his father disappeared and what happened to the town. And then Slade and Riez's relationship as they build and grow is really cool and fun, and then very like a very nice blossoming relationship that you see on screen, from, you know, them building up each other, them pushing each other, them like encouraging each other, them understanding one another, that they both have their faults and weaknesses, they have their scares, they have their strengths, and they also just want to protect each other, but they're very hesitant at sometimes. But when the moment hits, they're very forward thinking, like, if you need help, let me know. And I just love their relationship. I love their bond. And Slade is like one of the first of many male protagonists in most games that I like. And I don't really like that many male protagonists. It's very few that gets me to like a lot of male main characters like Cloud or Goku or Link, or, in that category of characters. And Slade, he was a good cat. He was a good character. I loved him every moment that he was on screen. He was never a bore. He was never in the way or anything. They really handled the dual relationship between Riez and Slade very well. And I felt like whenever he had to step up and be a man and, be a male protagonist, he did that. Any times where he was just trying to be the comic relief and poking fun at Riez, he was that. He was always there being an assistance, but also never being overshadowed or underutilized for the moment that had to be done. I just really love the chemistry that Riez and Slade build over the course of the town. And not even just that, with all the characters that was there, from Tortori, Raz, Wilbel, Sophie, this game really made me enjoy Sophie more than I already had. But more importantly, Wilbel. I really started to love Wilbel in this game because Wilbel's not a character that you see very often within Atelier games. And the last time I even played or seen Wilbel was in Aisha, and that was so many years ago. So seeing Wilbel in this game and having more of a personality and more of different types of interactions, and seeing all the characters and different their past histories come up and them talking about what they want, their fears and all this, I think they chose a good band of characters for this game. Of course, I wanted to play with all my favorites, from Ryza or Claudia or Valerie, or when Resna showed up, I wanted to play them. But I'm actually happy somewhat that you wasn't able to play with them, because you was able to enjoy the characters that you had already, like Ray's. now I kind of want to go back and play the Mana games because I never had the chance to play them before because they were on the PS2 way before I got into the Atelier series, which I got into it from Verona on the PS3. But now because I seen Rez in this game, I want to play those games. And I feels like they did that on purpose because Rez doesn't get a lot of, screen time a lot of times. And maybe they had plans to bring the Mana games out as a remake at some point, but they was doing this to see Rez as a cool character. And he is a cool character. He was pretty much the first male protagonist, like main protagonist. And it was cool to see him interact. He was pretty much the Sasuke of the group most of the times, where he was very soon about a lot of things, but every so often he would say something or do something that was very cool and suave, and he was very powerful to have on the team. He was like my backup Slade. Essentially, when Slade would go down, I would bring him in. I did a very good job of rotating and switching out the characters when this stuff hit the fan. It was a really great time learning and adapting and figuring out different ways my characters would adapt to the situations and how they would go for each moment. It just felt good. It felt good. The characters were amazing in this game. And then you had the side characters from Camila and Randolph. They also had their own kind of quirks. For Camila, who has the weight of the whole town on her shoulders, who's trying to bring this whole city back to life, and it's like her duty to figure it out without any money or any support from the capital or anything. And seeing her relationship with Riaz and her relationship with all the other characters, her even asking about Slade and Riaz's relationship, if they're moving up in the knot or they actually getting a couple, and asking Ray if he knew what that was about. But he is so fucking blindsided by anything. He was the wrong person to ask. I think the comedy in this game was so good. It was so well done. For when a character showed up, they were fun to see on screen. I was always cheering and having a great laugh. Seeing Marie show up was like kind of the last like big character that showed up, and like she's the mother of alchemy, so like of the Atelier series essentially. And it was always fun to see them. But the only downside is that they didn't have voices, which just sucks, which I feel like they could have just pulled the voices from the Gacha game that they're in there and have them in here. But I understand that they had to cut corners somewhere, but it was just kind of a shame that you didn't get to hear a lot of the characters' voices like Shelly or Claudia or Riza or anything like that, unless they were in the cutscene. But like for a lot of the like past protagonists or side characters that you've seen, like Plactia or Shelly and Shelly or Ayesha or other characters like that, Vayne, Loki would show up. There's a lot of variety of characters that showed up. The one character that didn't show up, that I was kind of pissed that didn't show up, is Verona, my girl, who got me into the series. She got excluded from this deal, and I don't understand why, but maybe she'll show up in the future DLC or something. But like, it was kind of sucky to not see Verona there, or Eshka. Logi was there, and I love that they pointed out the fact that Sophie also has a Logi in her world, and she was like kind of poking like, is this the same Logi or not the same Logi? And I love that they started to like intertwine with that. You got to see a really good relationship between Claudia and Riza, how they want to actually like live together and be together, and they were asking Riaz and Slade for dating advice. It was always fun. And the last thing that I'm going to cover is the town management. Oh, I love me a good town management system that actually feels good, that I feels like I'm putting an effort to building a town and seeing my hard work blossom. Like, you start off with practically a dingy ass freaking town, and as you build up your shop, you put more stuff in the shop, and you do the certain requirements that it requires you to get a certain item, synthesize a certain thing, sell a certain thing or a certain item. Then you would start seeing your town blossom. You have to deal with the rank system, which was kind of annoying at first, but once you started getting going and you understood the synthesizing and how to really morph in this game because it was more important than any other Atelier game. It really started to matter for the town, and when you saw your hard work blossoming from all the different districts opening up and all the towns looking better, from the grounds having better like patterns and more floral all over the place, it felt good. It felt good. I felt satisfied, like I did this. The game had also a really good challenge from the different bosses you got to fight, and also like the final boss was a little fun and had this weird mystery behind it. Even the fairies had some really good mysteries in it, and like there was a lot of great like all moments, like oh my god, I can't believe this happened moments, and it was just a great freaking time. I had an amazing time with this game. A beautiful game, a beautiful cinema game, to the point where it is now in my top 5 favorite Atelier games, going from Ryza 3, Yumie, Sophie, Verona, and now Riet. Now, I still go for the fact that this game should have been titled Atelier Riaz because that's who you mostly play as in this game. I don't understand why they called it Resleriana when you don't even get to play with her much. She shows up a little bit in the beginning and then later, but like she's not really there, so I don't understand why they didn't call it Riaz, Atelier Riaz. Even though this is technically a sequel to the gacha game, even though they were alluding to that it was a different world, but it isn't. And like you don't have to play the gacha game to understand what's going on in this game, but they do reference stuff from the gacha game, so it's a little weird. Now, the one thing that I did love about this game the most is how respectful they were to both characters of Riaz and Slade, how they really treated them as both the dual protagonists of the series. No one overshadowed the other, especially like in the beginning of the game, you could choose between who you want to play with as Slade or Riaz. Now, as you're playing through the game, you are able to switch to each one of the characters on the fly, which is Riaz or Slade. If you click R3, at least on the PlayStation 5, when you play, that's where I played it on, and you click R3, you immediately switch between Slade and Riaz. There's no like big alter changing thing. It's really quick and instant, and you can play or fight or gather with any character you want, and they all have their own unique quirks when it comes to it. Now, for the Slade perspective, there is unique cutscenes for each one of the characters of how they introduce themselves at the beginning of the game until they meet that set other character, or Riaz or Slade. And you know, I do want to go and play the other version, the second playthrough with Slade, to see his perspective of the cutscenes, which I will do eventually, but I just haven't had the time to do it just yet. But I do love that most of the time when they're together, most of the cutscenes are together or the same, and I just like that they chose to treat these characters pretty much the same, but have their own unique quirks about them, and I think that's just really cool. And the turn-based in this game was great. I loved it. I think it was a really good adaptation back to a good traditional style of the Atelier series. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love the more fast-paced, live action, more feeling of Atelier Yumie and Ryza 3 and stuff. However, this turn-based system was not boring at all. It was always fluid. It was always fun to figure out what weaknesses the enemies were weak to versus the characters that were strong to. There was always stuff happening in the moment. You was able to switch out and out between your different characters, especially when you got more access to more things you could do within the battle, from the multi-actions to the different interrupts, from using items or using bursts and all these other cool ways to link all your characters together. The one thing that I wish that they would have borrowed from Resleriana that would have been cool in this game is like when characters do team ups or different types of like collisions together, they would high five and be like cheering people on and stuff, and they didn't carry that over into this game, and I wish they did, but it's not really that big of a loss. But I really did love the combat in this game. I mean, I more liked it when you was able to just one shot kill everything without any trouble at all, without doing the turn base, but I never was bored about the turn base at all. This game was actually pretty convenient for a lot of people. If you didn't want to do the combat at all or the turn based in anything, you could speed it up to make it more convenient for you, or you can put it on auto battle if you truly wanted to. You can make this game as easy or hard as you wanted it to be when it came to the combat. And I love that they appeal to so many different people, for people who likes the more fast-paced action RPG style of things, or don't really care about the grind of a turn-based RPG but wants to just get through it quickly just to see the story. They accommodate for that, and I really do appreciate that. So the combat and all the different styles for the characters was great, and I really did appreciate the way they handled this game a lot. Either way, not to drag this out too much or glaze this game even more than I have, because that's pretty much all I'm doing is glazing this game, but I don't care when it comes to Atelier. But all you need to know is I love this game. This game was a great freaking experience of a time. I enjoyed every single moment of it. I'm still trying to get the platinum trophy because there's still a few that I still need to do, like beating the boss on the very hardest level, which is a pretty decent task. And then also like beating on the field bosses and doing some small little tasks that requires me to get the platinum trophy. And like once you like get the assault bangle, which is like the best item in the game, you can literally just go through the whole fields and just start knocking and killing enemies right off instantly because you're that strong. I hope they make an update where you can do that for the field bosses, because after so many levels, even the field bosses start running away from you, which I love. I love feeling overpowered after all the hard work I put into an RPG, and I just want to feel that for the bosses too, where if I'm in the dimensional pass and the boss is running away from me, I can knock it out and kill it instantly and move on about my day, you know? I think that would be amazing. I feels like you will have a great time with this game, especially if you played all the other classic Atelier games. Especially if you love Sophie. Sophie's amazing in this game. Tortori is a beaut in this game, pretty much the same character as she was before. Seeing her always talking about making money and Claudia making money is always fun and enjoyable to see. This game was great. I loved it. I loved the whole game. Amazing. A definitely stamp of approval from your boy Kentman. So that is it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know by being a fan of that like button, and remember that fan service is the best kind of service. But the Atelier year is not over, because we got Ryza Trilogy Deluxe coming out in November for my birthday, and I'm definitely prepared for that as well. So until the next Atelier adventure, I will see you guys in the next video soon. Bye me.